The text message came through at 6:47 p.m. 3 words. Dad, I'm walking. Nathan Brooks had just finished soccer practice and was heading home. His father texted back, "Okay, son, see you soon." Nathan never arrived. The 2-mile walk should have taken 30 minutes. By 8 p.m., his parents were frantic. By midnight, police were searching. 4 years later, a hiker found a single shoe on a trail 15 miles from where Nathan disappeared. Inside that shoe was evidence that would finally answer what happened. And the truth was far worse than anyone imagined. This is Vancouver, Canada. This is the story of how a routine walk home became a 4-year mystery, solved by a hiker's discovery and forensic breakthrough. Nathan James Brooks was 15 years old in October 2014, living in the Kitsilano neighborhood of Vancouver with his parents and younger sister. His father, Robert Brooks, was a software engineer at a tech company downtown. His mother, Jennifer Brooks, worked as a physical therapist at Vancouver General Hospital. Nathan's sister Emily was 12, and the siblings were close despite the typical sibling arguments. The Brooks family lived in a comfortable 2-story house on West 12th Avenue, a quiet residential street lined with maple trees. It was the kind of neighborhood where people knew their neighbors, and kids rode bikes to friends' houses. Robert had grown up in Vancouver and wanted his children to have the same safe, community-oriented childhood he'd experienced. Jennifer was originally from Toronto, but had fallen in love with Vancouver when she moved there for university. Nathan attended Kitsilano Secondary School, a large public high school about 2 miles from his home. He was in 10th grade, an above-average student who earned mostly B's with occasional A's. In subjects he enjoyed like history and English, Nathan wasn't particularly academic, but he was conscientious about homework and respectful to teachers. What Nathan truly loved was soccer. He'd been playing since age 6, progressing through youth leagues and club teams. By 15, he was a starting midfielder on Kitsilano Secondary's varsity soccer team, impressive for a sophomore. His coach, Marcus Chen, described Nathan as the hardest worker on the team, someone who made up for any lack of natural talent with determination and effort. Nathan played with intelligence, reading the game well, making smart passes, covering ground tirelessly. He wasn't the flashiest player, but he made everyone around him better. Nathan's best friend since elementary school was Lucas Park, who also played on the soccer team. They were inseparable, at school, at practice, on weekends. Lucas lived just 4 blocks from Nathan, and the two spent countless hours together, playing video games, watching soccer matches, talking about girls they liked but were too nervous to approach. Nathan had recently started dating a girl from his English class, Maya Rodriguez. They'd been together for about 3 months, navigating the awkward sweetness of first relationships, holding hands in hallways, texting constantly, going to movies. Maya would later tell investigators that Nathan was kind and funny, that he made her feel comfortable being herself. Nathan had a part-time job at a local coffee shop, being around the world, working Saturday mornings. He was saving money to buy a used car when he turned 16 the following summer. He'd already picked out the car he wanted, a 2006 Honda Civic he'd found on Craigslist, and was methodically saving toward the $4,500. Asking price, his parents had agreed to match whatever he saved, making the goal achievable. Nathan was responsible with money, tracking his savings in a notebook, rarely spending on impulse. This responsibility extended to other areas. He did chores without being reminded, looked out for his younger sister, texted his parents when plans changed. Robert and Jennifer considered themselves lucky. Nathan was a good kid, navigating adolescence without major drama. Tuesday, October 21, 2014, was an ordinary autumn day in Vancouver. The weather was typical for late October. Overcast, temperature around 12 degrees Celsius, light drizzle in the morning that cleared by afternoon, Nathan had school from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., followed by soccer practice from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. It was a long day, but Nathan loved practice and never complained. That morning, Nathan got up at 7 a.m., ate breakfast with his family, and caught the bus to school at 7:45. Jennifer reminded him to text when practice ended. "I will, Mom," Nathan said, grabbing his backpack and soccer bag. Those were the last words Jennifer heard her son speak. Nathan's school day was unremarkable. He attended classes, ate lunch with Lucas and Maya, seemed in good spirits. His last class was chemistry, ending at 3 p.m. His teacher, Mr. David Wilson, would later recall Nathan had participated in class discussion and seemed completely normal. After school, Nathan went to the boys' locker room, changed into practice gear, and headed to the field. Soccer practice ran from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Coach Chen ran the team through drills, then scrimmaged for the final hour. Nathan played well, scoring a goal during scrimmage. Practice ended at 6:30 p.m. as scheduled. Most players had rides waiting, parents or older siblings picking them up. Nathan usually got rides from Lucas's father, but on this particular Tuesday, Lucas had left school early for a dentist appointment and wasn't at practice. Nathan's parents both worked until 6 p.m. and couldn't pick him up. This was fine. Nathan had walked home from practice before. It was only 2 miles, mainly through residential streets Nathan knew well. At 6:47 p.m., Nathan sent the text message to his father. "Dad, I'm walking." Robert, still at his office finishing work, replied immediately. "Okay, son, see you soon." Nathan read the message. The double check marks showed "read" at 6:48 p.m., but didn't respond further. This was normal. Nathan put his phone in his jacket pocket and started walking. The route from school to home was straightforward. Nathan would walk east on West 4th Avenue for about 6 blocks, then turn north on Balsam Street for another 8 blocks, bringing him to West 12th Avenue, where he'd turn east and walk 3 blocks to his house. Total distance, approximately 2.2 miles. Walking at normal pace, it should take 30 to 35 minutes. Nathan should have arrived home around 7:20 p.m. at the latest. But Nathan never arrived home. At 7:30 p.m., Jennifer Brooks, who'd gotten home from work at 6:45, started wondering where Nathan was. She texted him, "Where are you? You should be home by now." The message showed delivered, but not read. At 7:45, Jennifer called Nathan's phone. It rang several times, then went to voicemail. She left a message. "Nathan, call me as soon as you get this. I'm worried." Still no response. At 8 p.m., Jennifer called Robert, who was stuck in traffic on his commute home. Nathan's not home yet, and he's not answering his phone. He left school over an hour ago. Robert tried to stay calm. Maybe he stopped at a friend's house. Did you try Lucas? Jennifer had already tried Lucas, who confirmed he hadn't seen Nathan since school that morning and didn't know where he was. By 8:15 p.m., Jennifer's concern turned to panic. This wasn't like Nathan. He always answered texts or calls, especially from his parents. Robert arrived home at 8:30 p.m. and immediately got back in his car to drive Nathan's walking route, searching for him. He drove slowly, looking down side streets, checking parks. Nothing. At 9 p.m., Robert called Maya Rodriguez's house. Maya's mother answered, explained Maya was doing homework, but got her. Maya said she'd last seen Nathan at lunch. He'd seemed fine, said he'd text her after practice. She hadn't heard from him. At 9:15 p.m., Robert called Coach Chen, who confirmed Nathan had been at practice until 6:30 and had left on foot. The coach hadn't noticed anything unusual. At 9:30 p.m., Robert called Vancouver Police Department non-emergency line. He explained his 15-year-old son had left school at 6:30 p.m. to walk home and hadn't arrived. The dispatcher took information and said an officer would come to the house. At 10:05 p.m., Constable Mark Stevens arrived at the Brooks home. He took a detailed report, Nathan's description, what he was wearing, school soccer uniform under a navy blue jacket, jeans, white sneakers, his phone number, the route he would have walked. Constable Stevens explained that most missing teenagers return home within hours, but given Nathan's age and responsible history, he'd escalate immediately. He called for additional units to search the walking route. By 11 p.m., multiple police units were searching. Officers drove the route Nathan should have walked, using spotlights to check parks and alleyways. They knocked on doors of houses along the route, asking residents if they'd seen a teenage boy. Nobody had noticed anything. Police attempted to ping Nathan's cell phone to get a location. The phone appeared to be off or out of battery. The last ping came from a cell tower near Kitsilano Secondary at 6:52 p.m., just minutes after Nathan sent his last text. After that, nothing. At midnight, Detective Sarah Martinez arrived to oversee the investigation. She interviewed Robert and Jennifer in detail. Nathan had no history of running away, no mental health issues, no reason to disappear. His relationship with his parents was good. He wasn't in trouble at school. He had a girlfriend he cared about. He was saving money for a car. Everything pointed to a kid with plans and stability. Detective Martinez ordered an expanded search at first light. Wednesday morning, October 22nd, the search intensified. Over 50 officers and volunteers combed the route between Kitsilano Secondary and the Brooks home. They searched every alleyway, every park, every wooded area. Search and rescue teams with dogs tracked Nathan's route. The dogs picked up his scent from the soccer field to West 4th Avenue, following it east for 4 blocks before losing it near Balsam Street. This suggested Nathan had walked his normal route for part of the way before something happened. But what? There was no evidence of struggle, no witnesses, no abandoned belongings. Police reviewed CCTV footage from businesses along West 4th Avenue. Several cameras caught Nathan walking east between 6:50 and 6:58 p.m. The clearest footage, from a pharmacy at West 4th and Balsam, showed Nathan at 6:58 p.m., walking normally, hands in jacket pockets, backpack and soccer bag over his shoulders. He looked relaxed, not distressed or hurried. 90 seconds later, he walked past the camera's view. That was the last confirmed sighting of Nathan Brooks. By Thursday, October 23rd, the story was all over local news. 15-year-old missing after soccer practice, read headlines. Nathan's school photo was broadcast across Vancouver. Tips started coming in. Reported sightings, theories, speculation. Police investigated each lead. Someone reported seeing a teenager matching Nathan's description at a bus stop miles away. Police checked bus surveillance. It wasn't Nathan. Another caller said they'd seen a boy who looked like Nathan getting into a dark sedan. Police canvassed the area, found no evidence. Investigators interviewed Nathan's friends, teachers, coaches, anyone who'd interacted with him recently. Everyone painted the same picture. Nathan was a normal, happy teenager with no reason to disappear. His computer and social media were analyzed. No concerning conversations, no plans to meet anyone, no signs of online predators. His bank account showed no unusual activity. The $850 he'd saved for his car was untouched. As days passed, the search expanded geographically. Volunteers distributed missing persons, posters across Vancouver. Nathan's face appeared on lampposts, in shop windows, on community boards. Robert and Jennifer made televised appeals, begging anyone with information to come forward. Jennifer, barely holding together, spoke directly to Nathan. "If you can hear this, please come home. We love you. We're not angry. We just want you safe." But the appeals brought no answers. The case baffled investigators. Teenagers don't usually vanish into thin air on busy residential streets in early evening. Someone should have seen something, but nobody had. 2 weeks after Nathan's disappearance, a potential break emerged. A man walking his dog in Pacific Spirit Regional Park, about 5 miles from where Nathan disappeared, found a backpack partially hidden under bushes. The backpack was black with a Nike logo matching the description of Nathan's. Inside were textbooks with Nathan's name, school supplies, and a water bottle. Police processed the backpack for evidence. There were no fingerprints except Nathan's, no DNA from anyone else, no signs of struggle. The backpack's location was concerning. Pacific Spirit Park was not on Nathan's route home. It was in the opposite direction, across the University of British Columbia campus. Why would Nathan's backpack be there? Had Nathan gone there voluntarily? Had someone taken the backpack there? The discovery raised more questions than answers. Police expanded the search to Pacific Spirit Park, a massive area of temperate rainforest, covering nearly 2,000 acres. Search teams with dogs combed trails and dense undergrowth. They found nothing else, no other belongings, no sign of Nathan. The discovery of the backpack suggested foul play. If Nathan had simply run away or gotten lost, his backpack would likely be with him. The fact it was found miles off his route, hidden, suggested someone else had put it there. But who? And where was Nathan? As October turned to November, then December, hope faded. The Brooks family held a vigil on Nathan's 16th birthday. In June 2015, Nathan should have been getting his driver's license, buying the Honda Civic he'd saved for. Instead, his parents stood in a park surrounded by candles and photos, still with no answers. Months became years. 2015 passed, 2016, 2017. Nathan's case remained open but unsolved. Detectives periodically reviewed the file, hoping fresh eyes might spot something missed. New leads occasionally emerged. Someone would claim to have seen Nathan in another city, or find something they thought might be connected. Each lead was investigated and ruled out. The Brooks family never moved, keeping the same address and phone number in case Nathan tried to contact them. Robert and Jennifer's marriage struggled under the weight of loss and uncertainty. Emily, Nathan's sister, grew from 12 to 16 without her brother, her adolescence shadowed by his absence. Maya Rodriguez graduated high school, went to university, moved on with her life, but never forgot the boy who'd vanished. Lucas Park, Nathan's best friend, struggled with survivor's guilt. If he'd been at practice that day, if his father had given Nathan a ride, maybe Nathan would still be here. Then in August 2018, nearly 4 years after Nathan disappeared, a hiker made a discovery that would finally provide answers. James Patterson, a 34-year-old from Vancouver, enjoyed solo hiking in the North Shore Mountains, the range north of Vancouver, accessible by the Lions Gate Bridge. On August 18th, Patterson was hiking the Haynes Valley Trail in Mount Seymour Provincial Park, a remote area popular with experienced hikers, but far from casual tourist spots. About 4 miles into the trail, in a section of dense forest off the main path, Patterson noticed something unusual, a white sneaker partially covered by fallen leaves and moss. Curious, Patterson picked it up. It was a Nike running shoe, size 9, weathered and dirty, but still intact. Patterson almost tossed it aside. People occasionally lost shoes on trails, but something made him look inside. Inside the shoe, wedged into the toe area, was a small plastic bag. Patterson carefully removed it. Inside the plastic bag was a piece of paper, folded multiple times. The paper was damp, but readable. Patterson unfolded it and saw handwriting. Messy, rushed, desperate. "Mom and Dad, if you find this. I'm sorry, he said he'd let me go if I stayed quiet, but I know he won't. His name is Marcus. Gray truck. I love you. Tell Emily I love her. Nathan Brooks." Patterson's hands shook as he read. He immediately pulled out his phone but had no cell service this deep in the wilderness. He carefully resealed the paper in the plastic bag, put it back in the shoe, and half ran back down the trail to his car. Once he had service, he called 911. Within 2 hours, police arrived at the trailhead. Patterson led them to the location where he'd found the shoe. Detective Martinez, who'd never closed Nathan's case, was notified and rushed to the scene. The shoe was photographed in place, then carefully collected as evidence. The note inside was extracted and preserved. Back at the lab, forensic analysis began. The handwriting was compared to samples from Nathan's school notebooks. It matched. The paper was standard-lined notebook paper, consistent with what Nathan would have carried. DNA testing on the shoe confirmed it belonged to Nathan Brooks. His DNA was inside, along with soil and organic matter consistent with the Mount Seymour area. The note was dated October 21st, 2014, the day Nathan disappeared. The contents of the note were devastating and illuminating. Nathan had been taken by someone named Marcus, who drove a gray truck. Nathan had managed to write the note and hide it in his shoe, hoping someone would find it. The fact the shoe was found in Mount Seymour Park, 15 miles north of where Nathan disappeared, meant he'd been taken there, the note's tone suggested. Nathan feared he wouldn't survive. He'd been right to fear. Police immediately began investigating. Who was Marcus? Gray trucks are common, but combined with the name and the timeline, investigators had something to work with. They pulled records of everyone named Marcus living in Vancouver in 2014. They cross-referenced with registered vehicle owners. They built a list of potential suspects. One name kept appearing in the investigation: Marcus Chen, no relation to Nathan's soccer coach. Marcus Chen was 28 years old in 2014, living in North Vancouver, working as a freelance contractor doing landscaping and odd jobs. He owned a 2003 gray Chevrolet Silverado truck. Chen had a criminal record: minor assaults, theft, drug possession. Nothing violent enough to flag him as a predator, but a pattern of troubled behavior. In October 2014, Chen lived alone in a basement suite in North Vancouver, about 3 miles from Mount Seymour Park. Detectives pulled Chen's records and made a chilling discovery. In November 2014, just weeks after Nathan disappeared, Marcus Chen had suddenly moved, leaving Vancouver entirely. He'd relocated to Calgary, Alberta, over 600 miles away. This sudden move, shortly after a child vanished, raised massive red flags. Police tracked Marcus Chen to Calgary. He was still there, now working construction, living in a rental apartment. On August 25, 2018, Calgary Police, coordinating with Vancouver investigators, arrested Marcus Chen at his workplace. He was brought in for questioning. Initially, Chen denied everything. He claimed he'd never heard of Nathan Brooks, didn't know anything about a missing boy, had moved to Calgary for work opportunities. But detectives had leverage: the note. They showed Chen a copy. Nathan Brooks wrote your name and described your truck before he died. We found this in his shoe on Mount Seymour. We know you were involved. Tell us what happened. Chen's composure cracked. After hours of interrogation, he confessed. Marcus Chen's confession revealed the terrible truth. On October 21st, 2014, Chen had been driving his gray truck along West 4th Avenue around 7 p.m. He'd just finished a landscaping job and was heading home. He saw Nathan walking alone, carrying a backpack and soccer bag. On impulse, Chen would later claim it wasn't premeditated. He pulled over and offered Nathan a ride. "Hey, you look like you're walking far. Want a lift?" Nathan, taught not to accept rides from strangers, declined. But Chen was persistent. "I'm going north anyway. It's getting dark. Your parents would want you safe, right?" Nathan hesitated, then agreed. It was getting dark. He was tired from practice, and Chen seemed friendly enough. Nathan got in the truck. Chen drove north instead of east, away from Nathan's home. Nathan noticed quickly. This isn't the right way. Chen's demeanor changed. He told Nathan to stay quiet. He drove across the Lions Gate Bridge to North Vancouver, then up into the mountains toward Mount Seymour. Nathan, now terrified, demanded to be let out. Chen refused. On a remote section of the Haynes Valley Trail access road, Chen stopped the truck. What happened next, Chen initially refused to detail, but forensic evidence and Nathan's note filled gaps. At some point, Nathan was allowed or managed to take off his shoe and hide the note inside, placing it where he hoped it might be found. Chen claimed he'd planned to let Nathan go, that he'd only wanted to scare him, but investigators didn't believe this. The evidence suggested otherwise. Nathan Brooks died somewhere in the Mount Seymour wilderness on October 21st, 2014. Chen claimed it was an accident, that Nathan had tried to run and fallen, hitting his head on rocks. Forensic experts doubted this version. Chen had then panicked, disposing of Nathan's body in a remote area he knew from hiking. He'd kept Nathan's backpack and later dumped it in Pacific Spirit Park to mislead investigation. The shoe with the note, Chen claimed he'd never noticed, assuming both Nathan's shoes were together with the body. He'd fled to Calgary weeks later, not because of Nathan specifically, but because he'd sensed police attention and had warrants for unrelated offenses. Based on Chen's confession, search teams returned to Mount Seymour in September 2018. Using Chen's description of the location, along with cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar, they searched dense forest off the Haynes Valley Trail. On September 12, 2018, nearly 4 years after Nathan vanished, searchers found human remains buried in a shallow grave about half a mile from where the shoe had been found. Forensic analysis confirmed the remains were Nathan Brooks. The state of decomposition and skeletal analysis suggested Nathan had died within hours of his disappearance. Cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head, consistent with being struck with a heavy object, likely a rock. This contradicted Chen's story of an accidental fall. The evidence suggested murder. Marcus Chen was charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and interference with human remains. The trial began in March 2019. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence: Nathan's note naming Chen, Chen's confession, the discovery of remains in the location Chen described, forensic evidence from Chen's truck showing Nathan's DNA. The defense argued the death was unplanned, that Chen had panicked, that this was second-degree murder at most, not first-degree. But the prosecution demonstrated premeditation. Chen had driven Nathan 15 miles into wilderness, had the tools to bury him, had strategically dumped the backpack elsewhere to mislead police. This was calculated murder. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated 8 hours before returning a verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder. At sentencing in May 2019, Nathan's family was allowed to make victim impact statements. Jennifer Brooks, who'd aged years in the 4.5 since Nathan vanished, spoke first. "You stole my son. You stole his future, his dreams, his life. Nathan was 15 years old. He was walking home from soccer practice. He trusted you when you offered a ride, because Nathan saw good in people. You took advantage of that goodness, and you killed him. Then you hid his body in the woods like garbage and moved to another city to escape consequences. For 4 years, we didn't know if Nathan was alive or dead. We hoped every single day that he'd come home. You stole that hope. You stole everything." She looked directly at Chen, who stared at the floor. "I hope you think about Nathan every day for the rest of your life. I hope you see his face every time you close your eyes." Robert Brooks spoke next, his voice steady but cold. "My son was a good kid. He loved soccer. He was saving for his first car. He had a girlfriend he cared about, friends who loved him, a sister who looked up to him. He should be 20 years old now, in university, living his life. Instead, he's dead because you decided his life meant nothing. You don't get to explain this away or justify it. You murdered a child and hid the evidence. The only reason we have answers is because Nathan was smart enough to write a note and hide it in his shoe, hoping someone would find it. Nathan solved his own case from beyond the grave. That shows the kind of person he was, thinking of his family even in his final moments. Emily Brooks, Nathan's younger sister, now 16, gave the final statement. I was 12 when Nathan disappeared. I'm 16 now. I spent my teenage years without my brother. He missed my middle school graduation, my first boyfriend, my 16th birthday. I missed his. We should have grown up together. Instead, I grew up in a house haunted by his absence, watching my parents fall apart, wondering if he'd ever come home. Now I know he won't. I know what happened to him, and I know the person responsible is sitting right there. She pointed at Chen. You took my brother from me. I'll never forgive you. But at least now, I can say goodbye. Judge Patricia Wong sentenced Marcus Chen to life in prison without possibility of parole for 25 years. In Canadian law, first-degree murder carries an automatic life sentence with parole eligibility after 25 years. Judge Wong stated, Mr. Chen, you committed one of the most heinous acts possible, the murder of a child. You took Nathan Brooks from his family and hid your crime for years. Only Nathan's own ingenuity in leaving a note brought you to justice. You will spend a minimum of 25 years in prison, and likely much longer. Nathan Brooks will never get to live the life he should have had. You will never again experience freedom without that knowledge weighing on you. Nathan Brooks's remains were released to his family in June 2019. They held a funeral service at Kitsilano United Church, the same church where they'd held vigils for years. Over 300 people attended. Family, friends, former classmates, teachers, Coach Chen, Maya Rodriguez, Lucas Park, search volunteers, police officers who'd worked the case. Nathan was buried at Mountain View Cemetery in Vancouver, his gravestone reading, Nathan James Brooks, 1999 to 2014, beloved son, brother, friend, forever 15, forever in our hearts. The Brooks family created a memorial scholarship at Kitsilano Secondary School, awarded annually to a student who embodies Nathan's qualities: dedication, kindness, perseverance. The case of Nathan Brooks changed how missing persons cases are investigated in British Columbia. The shoe with the hidden note demonstrated the importance of thoroughly searching extended areas, not just immediate vicinities. It showed that victims sometimes leave clues that take years to find. It reinforced the need for never closing cases, for keeping evidence preserved, for following up on even remote leads. Detective Martinez, who'd worked Nathan's case for 4.5 years, was commended for her persistence. She kept a photo of Nathan from the pharmacy CCTV, the last image of him alive, walking with hands in pockets, unaware of what was about to happen, on her desk as a reminder of why investigators can't give up. James Patterson, the hiker who found the shoe, was recognized for his alertness and quick thinking. Many people would have ignored a dirty shoe on a trail or tossed it aside. Patterson had the instinct to look inside, found the note, and immediately contacted police. Without his discovery, Nathan's case might never have been solved. Marcus Chen might never have faced justice. The Brooks family sent Patterson a heartfelt letter thanking him for giving them closure, for bringing Nathan home today. The Brooks family continues life forever changed. Robert and Jennifer divorced in 2020, the strain of Nathan's case finally breaking their marriage. Though they remain in contact, and jointly honor Nathan's memory. Emily is now 22, finishing university, studying social work with focus on supporting families of crime victims. She says Nathan's case shaped her career choice. She wants to help people navigate the trauma her family experienced. Maya Rodriguez, Nathan's girlfriend, is now 26, married with a young daughter. She named her daughter Natalie, a feminine version of Nathan, honoring the first boy she loved. Lucas Park, Nathan's best friend, became a police officer. He joined the Vancouver Police Department in 2020, working in the missing persons unit. He says Nathan's case showed him the importance of never giving up on missing people, of treating every case as if it's someone you love. He keeps a photo of himself and Nathan at soccer practice on his desk. Two 15-year-old boys in uniform, arms around shoulders, smiling, with no idea that months later, one would be gone, and the other would spend his life searching for people who vanish. The story of Nathan Brooks is a tragedy with elements of both horror and hope. Horror in what happened. A 15-year-old boy accepted a ride from a stranger and paid with his life. Horror in 4 years of uncertainty, of not knowing if Nathan was alive, of searching and finding nothing. But hope in the note Nathan left, the presence of mind to write his killer's name and hide evidence even in dire circumstances. Hope in the hiker who found the shoe and recognized its significance. Hope in the investigators who never closed the case, in the family that never stopped searching, in the community that never stopped caring. Every October 21st, the anniversary of Nathan's disappearance and death, the Brooks family returns to Mountain View Cemetery. They bring flowers, usually sunflowers, Nathan's favorites. They sit by his grave and talk to him, telling him about their lives, about Emily's accomplishments, about Lucas becoming a police officer, about Maya's daughter. They release a single balloon, navy blue, Nathan's favorite color. They watch it rise into the sky, carrying their love and grief, disappearing into the clouds the way Nathan disappeared from their lives 9 years ago. But unlike that terrible October evening when Nathan vanished without a trace, now they know what happened. They have answers. They have closure. And they have the knowledge that Nathan, even in his final moments, was thinking of them, leaving them a message, solving his own case from beyond the grave. That knowledge is both heartbreaking and beautiful, the final act of a boy who loved his family, enough to make sure they'd eventually know the truth.